Now, effective communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
So there I was on a flight just the other day watching a movie. Now, I don't get all the time in the world to watch movies, but when I do, but I was watching this movie on the plane called Bullet Train. Have you seen that movie? Bullet Train with Brad Pitt? And I was watching this movie, and there's a character on there. He keeps talking about Thomas the Train. Thomas the Train. Thomas the Train. Do you remember Thomas the Train? Well, this guy is hysterical because if you're a fan of Thomas the Train, and if you ever played with Thomas the Train when you were a kid, or played with Thomas the Train with your children, or played with your grandchildren, well, then you know who Thomas the Train is. And it was funny because I was thinking about Thomas the Train, and we were in that movie, and it was having such a good fun with that theme, running it through. And I thought about, you know what, the reason I like this is because it relates to me, because I've always been fascinated by trains. Since I was a little kid, I remember the first big present I ever wanted in my life was a train that I could sit on, that was the coolest gift I ever got as a kid. Fascinated by trains. And then, of course, you remember Thomas the Train. I think I can. My favorite book as a kid, right? Believing in yourself. So key to being successful as an effective communicator is to believe in yourself and have that confidence. And so, speaking of trains, I got this wonderful analogy from a good friend of mine a few months ago. And he said, really, when we're working with people, talking with people, leading people, we really want to be like that train in the rail yard. You know, the rail yard where they stage all the box cars, the flat cars, the tanker cars, and all the cars. Now, the locomotives that work in the trail yard, in the yards that move the cars around. Remember, the cars don't have an engine. Now, in some yards, they do use gravity, but they still have to stage the cars where they want them to make use of gravity in a gravity yard. And the locomotives do that. So the train engines, the locomotives, move the cars around. Now, think about this. It's a great analogy because the locomotive has to back up or go to the car, correct? It's got to meet the tanker car, the flatbed, the box car, whatever car it is, and put it in position. So it moves the cars. Now, if that locomotive doesn't move that car to where it needs to be staged at, is that car going to move itself? Well, no, it doesn't have an engine in it, right? So you think about this analogy, those cars don't move unless somebody stages those cars. And what stages the cars? Well, the locomotive person in the locomotive, using the locomotive, stages the cars in a rail yard. And if the cars don't get hooked up, they don't go anywhere. They're stuck. They're going nowhere. Now, think about this analogy. Now, think about being a presenter. Think about being a leader. Think about moving a group of people to action. You are in the locomotive. You are the locomotive, my friend. You are the locomotive. You have to meet the people where they're at. You can't expect them to be able to go where you want them to go unless you back up, you connect with them, and pull them along in a positive way in which they want to go. So this is so important when people give presentations. Oftentimes they go in and they want to baffle people with their BS. Maybe you've heard that before, where they just want to talk about all these big words and acronyms that they know and talk about all the stuff they know, and half their audience is glazed over and they don't even know what the heck this person's talking about. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. You've got to connect with your audience. You've been asked to speak because you are an expert. You understand the information. I get it. You're smart. That's cool. Be confident in that. But remember, your job when giving a presentation is to connect with that audience and get them to understand this information. And if you go right out of the gate and just take off, they can't go with you. So be like that locomotive in that rail yard. Back up. Connect to each person in your audience at where they're at. Now, there's so many opportunities we have to do this in day-to-day life with our loved ones, with people we know, people we don't know. And being more effective every day in the way we communicate is, where's this person at? Let's not make assumptions. Let's truly understand where they're at. I remember I was working with a kindergarten group. There was one little guy there that didn't want to partake in the activity we were doing. And I was talking to him about art and colors. And I said, what is your favorite color? And he said, my favorite color is blue. And I said, do you see any blue in what we're doing here? He goes, yes, I do. A simple thing like that. Now I connected with him on the color blue. Now that seems so obscure, but my point to you, my friends, is connect with every person where they're at, and you can take them to where you want them to go. Think like the rail yard. Think like the locomotive. You got this. Now go make it happen.